Cacteria here was illustrated by Kinzo. She was apparently raised by cactars, and personally, I never really liked those monsters. Imagine this thing chasing after you in the desert, that's terrifying! Though admittedly, a lot of the other monsters do look more ferocious, but there's just something soulless about that never-ending void. You know what? I'm just going to go look for a Charmander in Pokemon Snap. Cacteria's Trustmaster reward is an accessory that boosts magic. It's pretty simple and pretty effective. If you can participate in the ongoing event as of this video's release date, you'll be able to get a recipe that slaps on 30% water and earth elemental resistance, which can be helpful. Her Super Trustmaster reward is a magic fist that can boost your unit's HP, while giving them a physical and magical killer buff against beast and demon enemies. Onto her active abilities. 10,000 Breaking Needles deals fixed damage and inflicts an 80% full break. Thorn Punch can break gauges with a fist. She has a dual cast, which can grant some elemental resistance, damage mitigation, and average stat boosting spells. Cactus Break can lower the enemy's water and earth resistance by 130%, and can inflict an 85% full break. She has 4 types of Breaking Needles which can be used once per battle. Power, Magic, Mental, and Armor deal fixed damage and lower an enemy's attack, Magic, Spirit, or Defense by 87% respectively. Unfaltering Resolve raises your team's defense by 200%, inflicts 3 random status ailments, lowers the enemy's dagger resistance by 10%, and raises your team's limit burst gauge fill rate by 150%. Unwavering Faith is the same, but raises your team's spirit and lowers the enemy's sword resistance instead. Thorny Teamwork can boost your team's magic by 250%, raise their water and earth resistance by a tremendous 150%, and lower the enemy's fist resistance by 15%. Bard Boost raises another ally's attack and magic by 300%, and raises their limit burst damage by 150%. Sacred Oasis can be used once per battle. It lets everyone on your team deal water damage, lowers the enemy's water resistance by 135%, and additionally decreases all other elemental resistance by 120% as well. Hollow Desert is the same thing, but focuses on earth rather than water. Passives. But for Trustmaster reward, Super Trustmaster reward, or Vision card equipped, she'll gain some magic and a shrunk beast and demon killer, which will really come into play on her Brave Shift. She has a high level of physical evasion and a good amount of magic evasion. She'll also get a hefty amount of defense and spirit when she's wearing a robe. Let's look at her Limit Burst. It lowers the enemy's fist resistance by an impressive 25%, lowers their stats by 87%, their water and earth resistance by 130%, and raises their team's defense and spirit by 300%. Time to change forms. Cacteria here has a true Brave Shift, which has no limitations whatsoever. Active abilities. Cacteria uses physical attacks that deal magical damage. She still has her green magic, so that's always an option. Gigant Fist deals water and earth damage that Chains of Avalanche kick. Piercing Punch partially ignores the enemy's spirit and Chains of Chaos Wave awaken. Desert's Fury imbues earth onto her, raises her earth damage by 20%, and Chains of Bolting Strike. Oasis's Retribution is the same thing, but focuses on water. Million Needle Assault can be used once per battle. It deals fixed damage, removes buffs from your enemies, lowers their attack and magic by 90%, and their defense and spirit by 85%. Deadly Drought can lower an enemy's water and earth resistance by 130%, raises Cacteria's magic by 300%, raises her water and earth damage by a tremendous 50%, and grants her a powerful demon and beast killer buff. Passives. She shifts tremendously towards offense in this form, greatly preferring to dual-wield weapons. She gains a significant bonus if she's holding a magic fist as well. She also has a counter ability that Chains of Divine Ruination, and boosts her limit burst gauge fill rate by 100%. It should be noted that she loses her status ailment immunity and evasion in this form, so keep that in mind. Onto her Limit Burst. It deals damage and lowers the enemy's stats by 87%. Let's rank Brave abilities. I'd prioritize Cactus Break to raise the breaks in Imperos, Deadly Drought to raise her magic stat, and Thorny Teamwork to raise her team's magic stat and their water and earth elemental resistance. Time to make a damage rotation. I'll be using her as an earth damage dealer. On turn 1, activate her Brave Shift. Cast Deadly Drought and double cast Desert's Fury. Then just triple cast Desert's Fury. Once her Limit Burst gauge is filled, switch back and activate it to get that Fist Impero. Then just keep triple casting Desert's Fury, while refreshing her buffs as needed. Proper use of Cacteria will involve using her in conjunction with other units, utilizing her other Imperos, Breaks, and Magnus abilities when you want to make a push. So how good is Cacteria? As a debuffer, she's excellent. With high levels of Elemental Imperos, a variety of Weapon Imperos, and a plethora of tremendous breaks, you'll find a lot of places to use her. Unlike Venera Fenris or Savior of Souls Lightning, Cacteria's best breaks are more defensive, with a 90% attack and magic break. Of course, 87% defensive breaks are nothing to sneeze at either, and it helps that Cacteria brings along a variety of other useful tools. Her green magic carries physical and magical mitigation buffs. Her normal form can let your team deal water and earth damage, though it's on a Magnus ability, so it's more like a one-time push. And she has a targetable ability that greatly boosts one ally's offensive power. She's pretty strong as a magic damage dealer for someone who's primarily a debuffer. It helps that she can chain with Chaos Wave Awaken and Bolting Strike, which are fairly common. And there's Avalanche Kick, which is steadily growing. Admittedly, her Brave Shift's limit burst damage output is pretty underwhelming. In this case, it's primarily due to Cacteria's lack of limit burst damage buffs, but given that she's mainly a debuffer, it's not really unexpected. Overall, her kit's design is well tailored. Her dagger and sword imparos might be a bit moderate compared to her fist imparo, but regardless, all three are fairly common weapons. Her kit brings a lot of recent units to mind, though unfortunately she's not the best partner to chain with them. The fact that she has a true Brave Shift amplifies her viability, enabling her to use any of her assorted abilities when necessary. There's also an excellent amount of mileage to be found, depending on which future units you plan to get. For example, there's this one particular unit in the future. She comes from a fairly obscure game. Her name is Tifa. I doubt any of you have even heard of her. Though Tifa has a fist imparo of her own, Cacteria's overwhelming 135% water imparo and breaks will no doubt drastically raise Tifa's damage output. Of course, this doesn't just apply to Tifa. Though damage dealers change often, the effects surrounding them can last quite a while. Like the last fan design unit before her, King Bahimi, Cacteria is an excellent addition to the cast of debuffers, with a great amount of tools that give her a distinct role which can be used on many teams. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, leave a like and subscribe. Comment below if you plan to summon Cacteria. Her design's pretty sharp, and translates really well as a sprite. Somehow, I was expecting her kit to involve some form of team evasion, given the awards from Explosion of Nidos, but I guess that would really distract from her as a debuffer.